like I say, I mean, I don't believe that there's this like big bad patriarchy that's uplifting men so much. I believe it in a way that it's causing disadvantages for both of us. I mean, it's not just a one-sided thing. And I think that's why a lot of people have these stances on the patriarchy, because they think that women hold no accountability and just want to blame the patriarchy, which it's causing problems for both genders, like I say.
People kind of do that in general, though. A lot of people who don't want to work find some excuse to blame. Like, people who are like 5'9" will say, I'm not 6 foot, therefore I can't get it. It's like, okay, but you're still taller than almost all women, so
but I'm sorry, but in colleges right now, I noticed, because I came here first on an F1 visa, which is a student visa, and when you had like those courses, and I'm sorry, they literally teach young women to hate men. And then I heard that, and I was sitting here, me with a bunch of my guy friends and barely any women friends, and I was like, that's kind of bullshit.
Yeah, it is.
Like,
but they're kind of playing on human psychology to, like, if things happen to you that are bad and you're not a person who takes responsibility, you'll always fall for the psychology.
So they pretty much teach you to cry like a little bitch instead of,
basically.
I mean, it goes both ways. Like with red pillars, they do the same thing with women.
They do a lot of
red pillars, I'm sorry,
ways.
but wouldn't red pillars, like what I hear mostly on what people would call red pill podcasts, is it's hard to be a man, stop being a little bitch, and life is hard.
No, a lot of them are literally telling men to complain.
Yeah.
And be wusses.
It's just
they tell men to complain.
Oh, also.
Yeah, they say, like, I'm not tall enough. I don't make this much money. It's like, well, most.
Which ones are you watching? Which ones are you referring to?
Fresh and Fit.
Yeah, seriously, they say that?
Yeah.
Because I haven't heard that. Like that, man, they don't tell men to go whine like little bitches. I thought they would more
their
like,
whole
their
podcast
podcast is
like,
kind of based on that,
like
where
little
it's
bitches.
They may like slide in some sort of like self-improvement thing, but most of the time they're complaining about men aren't tall enough, or women get too many dates, or like things may be the way they are.
I mean, I know that they had debates where it was like different people arguing, but I don't know if it was like, it was on Fresh and Fit. I don't know if it was like Fresh and Fit's opinion on the topic.
Do you think that men are not struggling in specifically unique ways to them when it comes to the dating landscape?
Yeah, but everybody can struggle in a unique way. It doesn't mean you should be
No, I think that men are struggling.
But I think the difference is, though, is that I think men struggle more when it comes to dating than do women.
Yeah, and the solution is don't use dating apps.
Yeah. I mean,
like why are people still using those things? Like,
I mean, so you're saying like just do cold approach in the street, like just
be in a community, have friends. I mean, you either back in the days you go to church every Sunday and you have a community of people, or you go to some sort of sports event every Sunday or every whatever day, or you have a friend who introduces you to a group of friends who then has a girl that you might like or a guy that you might like.
Yeah, get into something like social that you like. Like if it's like woodworking, I don't know, and there's like woodcraft that has like classes and stuff, and there's actually plenty of women in that.
But people aren't finding enough excuses to go out and socialize, and that's why all these problems are happening.
Yeah, men are like completely relying on dating apps to find women. They're not even trying. Like, they'll stare at you at the grocery store awkwardly, but never actually come up and say hello or make conversation.
Or even do basic conversational things like say, like find an excuse to talk about some vegetable a chick's next to or something like that, or make some sort of excuse to talk to her.
They usually compliment my shoes, but my shoes are nice.
But this is kind of putting the entire burden of initiation on men.
But men were, biologically wired to be hunters, right? And now they don't even do that one thing that they were wired to do.
Do you want women to ask you out, or do you want to be the one who asks the women out?
Well, I actually think
they're scared of rejection.
Bro, I like it if the chick simps for me. I like it
if a girl walks up to you.
If she's orbiting
I don't want
your DMs just got flooded.
DM me. I think it's fine if a girl DMs a guy.
But men complain, and I wrote that to you. Men complain on the dating apps. Like, my friend complained to me that every single guy that she talked to on the dating app was complaining how bad the dating app was, yet doesn't try in person because says, but you're a beautiful woman. I don't want to approach you.
You have a better chance in person than you do on a dating app.
Of course. You're going to be more superficial when you're going through a dating app.
You have to.
Yep,
I mean,
nope.
dating apps are just superficial. I mean, Tinder, you just swipe on a photo. You don't know the
so
person.
depressing.
Half the time you don't even intend to talk to them.
And dating apps, they're not for dating. If you're on a dating app, it's for people who want to have sex, not dating.
Not necessarily.
Sometimes
it really
people do
is.
find love on there.
It really is.
But it's harder.
Hinge maybe,
people
but
get
Tinder
married
is
off
just sex,
dating
though.
apps.
I know. I mean, there's rare cases,
you can find
but
people on Tinder.
It's not that rare.
most of
I
the
mean, you
time it's
can't-
just sex.
I don't know.
Maybe
I
it's
met
my
my
ex
ex
on
on
Here's the other
Tinder.
side of the
Yeah.
coin of what you said of like putting all the responsibility on men and how that's unfair. The other side of that coin is if you take all the responsibility off the men, that weakens them. They're no longer masculine because they can't take
Yeah,
responsibility.
you're going to complain about how society is, or you're just going to say, here's what I can change. I can not use this dating app. I could go learn how to socialize. I'm going to get what I want anyway.
Yeah,
You
men
have
used
a
to get
much
rejected all
better
the time and
chance.
be okay with it.
People should
it
do
was
that
just a
in
numbers
general.
game for them.
Honestly, I think that like guys whining is such a turn off.
But earlier in the conversation, we were talking about, well, men should be vulnerable.
I
hold on,
didn't say
hold on,
that.
wait a
I
second.
did not
Should men
claim
be- no, no, no.
that.
I don't know
That was
exactly.
just
No,
her.
but
That's
but
just
I'm
her.
pretty
Their
sure you guys
emotions.
were like,
They're-
oh,
I didn't say that.
I'm not the one who
men
said
should be
that.
Yeah.
men
No,
should be
we
vulnerable.
should-
But that's
They
not
should
being
be.
a complainer.
Yeah,
A
complainer
versus
Vulnerable.
like,
you're just
I have
conflating
these
vulnerable with
feelings.
everything.
Yeah.
It's actually
Not really.
insecure.
One thing
You're
I'd
saying
like to say,
confidence
though-
is not being vulnerable. I think
So
it's
so
insecure.
men need to be these emotionless people that just accept
No.
the extremely rude ways in which they can be rejected.
Brian, are you saying that I said that because I did not?
She,
No, that's
yeah,
just
like,
No, they're
Ramen.
just
her
some
opinion.
things
I
that
said
they
the
should be able
opposite.
to.
It's just like no big look.
I said no, don't be a pussy. That's what I said.
Look, as a man, you ought to strive to be a strong individual and just let rejection roll off your back. But like, let's be honest, it fucking sucks to be rejected. And so
Yeah.
just dismissing men's frustrations when it comes to getting rejected, especially like there are men who will get either brutally rejected or will just face rejection after rejection after rejection. And it's a very privileged position to just say, oh, just, men just go back to accepting being rejected when women almost never face that sort of rejection when it comes to romance. Women may get rejected. Patrice O'Neill says this. He says, women don't really get rejected on the front end. They get rejected on the back end.
Would it be masculine if a guy sat there and cried about it?
What's that?
Would it be masculine if a guy sat
No, I
there
don't
and
think you
cried
should.
about
I don't
it?
think you should cry about it.
But do you
That's
think men
essentially what's
should?
going on online nowadays.
Also, I want to say, like,
what do you think
keep
men
saying-
should do, Brian?
You keep saying
Like, what's
vulnerability,
the solution?
but there's
Work.
also a thing like emotional intelligence, which is another thing. I mean, because men are told to be, emotionless, and it's like we're human beings. We all have emotions.
Yeah. You want
It's
someone who's
emotionally
emotionally intelligent.
Yeah, she was
So they
essentially
understand
agreeing with
you?
you earlier about that. I think the difference is like there's a misunderstanding at the table about dignified traits and undignified traits, right? So someone opening up and being vulnerable, a dignified version of that would be like maybe you know the person and their mom just died and they like feel really sad. Very extreme case, right? Versus undignified would be like, man, these women don't want me, these hoes. Like, they have too high standards for asking me to wash my ass, which, by the way, read street soap for that, if you guys want soap.
I mean, it's not that
I
deep.
think you
like-
guys are underestimating the average man's experience, for example, on a dating app. I know some of you say, well, get off the dating apps. The reality is, though, is that like 50% of people are meeting online. They're meeting on dating
shouldn't.
apps.
Don't
It's flooding
meet
the
That-
Everything
online.
has
that's fair
changed.
enough.
And
That's fair
men
enough,
want
but-
If you're in the
traditional women,
bottom
but there's nothing
50%,
traditional
try
about men
in person.
anymore.
Yeah.
We have to split
There's
the
nothing
bills with
traditional
them.
about women anymore.
It goes both
It's-
ways. It's
where
not
did
a
it start?
like whole big gender thing.
I thought men are supposed to lead women, so when men get weaker, isn't that essentially what's making the women weaker and follow suit to the precedent that they're setting, like
Right.
sleeping on the first night?
How many women
a
were
fair-
becoming
it's a fair
single
point.
mothers
It's a-
before?
hold on, just one thing. It's a fair point to say that yes, as men, we ought to take some responsibility. There's like the super tradcon line, which is basically as men, like we bear full responsibility, like as leaders, like the position we find ourselves in, you can say, oh, it's fully men's fault. However, I think in order to be a leader, you need to have people willing to follow. And feminism has taught women to not follow. Here's the thing, though. A lot of women desire those traits in men that are, that you could consider leadership traits, assertive, decisive, etc., leadership, dominant, whatever you want to say. Women want these traits in men, but they don't want to follow. They want the leader, but they don't want to follow.
What do you mean? Like, if you say
Okay,
you don't
if
like
you
getting
want,
approached in person?
if you want a man to be a leader in a relationship, you need, as a woman, you need to be prepared to follow. But most women don't want to be followers.
Most
Okay,
women want to
but-
be approached in person, though. So how is that really? I said, I don't.
What?
Like, well, if men want to approach us in person, because we're talking about being in person or being on a dating app, I think a lot of women like when men approach us in person. And if you're in that bottom 50% who can't do well on a dating app or whatever, then I think approaching in person gives you a better shot, because we have
sure.
to like lower our, like, we have to filter out a lot of men on dating apps that we wouldn't filter out in real life.
There used to be a lot of social stigma for a guy who had to ask a chick out online, and now it's like everybody's doing it.
I think there's a.
So it's like,
and they're
now
more
there's no
scared.
pressure.
They're getting more and more scared. Even like
That's true.
Well, I mean, there's Me Too. There's, you know, you see these gym TikTok videos of guys who even glance in a girl's direction or don't even glance in a girl's direction.
Yeah, I've seen
and
those.
they basically like try to destroy this guy's
Yeah, but now
reputation.
they're being
Honestly,
completely
girls who
ridiculed.
do
And everybody's
that
like- everybody's
should go to
completely
jail. Literally. I'm sorry, but as somebody who's like
For
a
what?
gym rat, I'm sorry. If you are in a situation where you're struggling and you're like on the bench press or whatever and you're actually struggling, if like you can't just, it's like an unwritten rule in a gym, like you don't fake that kind of stuff.
Fake
Because
what?
if you're actually in distress, you know, you need somebody to help you out. You don't fake that, because after that, like if it actually happens and they all think, well, no, she's just trying to like, you know, she's probably has like a hidden camera somewhere and like she just wants to ruin my life. Guys are not gonna go help you out because they think you're trying to like ruin their life.
Well,
That seems
that's
really
crying
paranoid
wolf.
to go to that extent.
Yeah, what are you
This
Like,
is-
oh, they have a
Literally
secret
no
camera
idea what
on
she's
them
talking
for, well, and I'm
That's
pretending
where
to
it
struggle.
starts. Where do we draw the line? I mean, girls, don't do shit like that. Seriously.
I
Well,
mean,
there's
most
just
people
you
don't
just
do
don't.
that.
Well,
Oh
Sean
my
made a
God.
great video on that, the gym thing.
Well,
But pretty
look
much
at
everybody
Amber
hates
Heard.
those chicks who
It's like, okay,
Yeah.
it's not that deep. Like, just don't pretend like you're freaking dying under a heavy.
Did someone do
Bar.
that?
I don't
Most
think
people
that's why
don't
men
Yeah,
do
no,
go.
they
that,
fake.
so-
They
Yeah.
fake to be
But
like in
that's
distress,
not why
so
men
that
are
guys
like
go help
this.
them out. And then they
Was
go
this
like,
a
"Oh,
video?
you're
It was
harassing me!
one
Get the
TikTok.
hell out of here!" They
I
film
said
it and
that
they
one,
post
you know?
it.
Yeah.
I know, but they want
they ruin
attention.
them.
They want attention. They want to be a victim. They want that 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah, but his life is ruined, and after that,
I
the day that
know.
somebody is struggling, the guy's
We're
not
not-
gonna go help her out.
I don't
and she
think
might
anyone
fucking die
here
there.
agrees
Which
with that.
guy is this? I mean, everybody's been pretty much ridiculing the chicks who are doing this.
I don't even know.
I
what's
mean,
going
I
that
didn't
she was
see that.
pretending
I
like
didn't
she
know
was
about this.
struggling.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this one?
Oh,
I don't think anyone agrees with this. I think everyone here is
Yeah.
absolutally against that, and I think
Do y'all
Johnny
go to
Depp-
the gym or?
Also,
What?
I'd say this isn't a common problem.
What?
By the way,
That's
I
not
mean, it
why
could
men are
be,
like this,
but it's
though.
not,
It's not because
so-
they
No.
might get.
I think the point you were trying to make is that women want this thing, but they're unwilling to compromise when they get that thing, because a guy that they claim to want is going to expect something in return, and women are unwilling to give up that. Is that what you were saying?
Sort of. I mean, someone here, I think it was you, Josie, brought up, there's this video of this like liberal woman, progressive woman that kind of went viral like 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I really want a guy who's going to pay for me, open the door to my car, you know, be like kind of that traditional man, but
Bender the
also
Offender
has these
donated
progressive values.
$99.
Oh, I remember
Idea,
that.
Thank you, man.
male-only gyms and female-only gyms. Problem
I
solved.
wish.
Yeah, but
Thank
I have
you,
no
Bender.
women
So,
friends.
so there are those, and the male-only gyms become very similar to bathhouses
Well, yeah,
in
'cause
that
it-
sense.
Oh.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
get why.
And I have no women friends, so I'd be alone.
But I
Can
agree.
make them at the gym.
I agree with Mr. Bryan on the thing about college, for example, like being an example of that indoctrination you're talking about, that women are taught to hate certain aspects of masculinity. That is true, and that does happen. I think that does affect how the women are reacting, but overall, I think a lot of women are just following suit to what the men are leading them to do, because women tend to be more agreeable, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think ultimately the man has to be masculine and take a lot of responsibility.
So you're saying they should all leave dating apps, or?
I think,
I mean, like
I'd
dating
say
apps
that.
overall aren't that effective. I mean, you don't have to delete them, but they're not that effective. They're not that great.
So you're saying you should take initiative and try to reach out in person?
Yeah, I think men should take initiative.
I think
yeah.
that if you're struggling, you should do that. But then he said we
'Cause,
won't
like,
follow them. I don't understand
These
how
things
we're
aren't
not
in
following them.
isolation. Like, there's a whole load of social issues that come if you only do this on an app. Like, where are your friend groups? Are you going out and doing stuff? What kinds of people are you meeting? If you're solving this problem with an app, it means you're not going out and doing other stuff that you should be doing.
Yeah.
And you're going to have lots of other social issues.
I disagree. I mean, I I got confidence from dating apps, whereas before, like, people were always really mean to me, guys were always really mean to me. And then when I was having my life and doing my own thing, and then I got on dating apps, and then I was like, okay, the pressure is off because I already know this person is interested in me and they want to go out on dates. We have things in common, and it's not going to be, you know, some guy trying to use me or anything like that. And I mean, my ex, I dated for almost 2 years.
I don't think they're bad. I think that men and women should just not solely rely on the dating apps. They should take opportunities that they find through friend groups, through
if they're not working
whatever.
for you, it doesn't mean all is doomed. That's what we're saying.
Okay, well, just to go back to your point about men should start approaching women more in public. One, it's pretty hard to do cold approach, and the other thing I would say is that I think I mentioned Me Too. Men are much more cautious about, you know, oh my God, if I say the wrong thing or I misstep, I'm going to be accused of harassment or, you know, whatever it may be. Also, we've stigmatized, I think, like, it's such a faux pas now to like date within the workplace, whereas I think in the past a lot of people would date in the workplace. People are so like that's the workplace thing. That's a whole
not a
nother
great
thing.
idea.
But
You could say college in the past, but not really anymore.
Why can't?
Just, like,
What
who
happened?
wants-
Sorry, and what happened to people just saying hello to each other? If you say hello to a woman that you're passing by, you think she's attractive, and she does like turns her head, or if she says hello back to you and smiles, like, are you gonna?
do you think it's easy to pick up a girl like cold approach?
Okay,
I don't know. I'm
I think it
older,
depends
so
on the
it-
neighborhood, by the way. Coming from Brooklyn, in some of the most ghetto parts where it was just straight up harassment, there's a difference between like approaching a woman in a cafe nicely and, you know, you don't look like you're a hobo or something, versus a guy going, hey, yo, baby girl, back that ass up. Like, there's a huge difference.
Okay.
Also, can I say, I mean, I think it's kind of a little stupid to say that men are scared to ask women out because of Me Too, because it's not like people are being falsely accused like that. I mean, not saying it doesn't happen, but it's not like
people
you
with
say,
something to lose are afraid. Like Henry Cavill, the dude that played Superman in The Witcher, he got semi-canceled because he said he's afraid to approach women. Now, this is the man that plays Superman because he's afraid of getting Me Too'd.
So I have two friends.
Yeah, but I think that's a little
I know, but
paranoid.
people that have value, right? People want high value men.
It's a bit
so
paranoid.
people with
Yeah, but then just meet the women
I know,
in
but
your
look what
social
happened
circles.
to Johnny Depp. You know, you could fall in love with someone and think that this is the best person ever, and they completely betray you.
I mean, that was kind of both mutually abusive. It
Yeah, they were
wasn't like
both
he's
kinda
just
nuts.
innocent. And I didn't even follow up like that, but that's one thing I could see from that
I mean, she
situation.
did
It's
take
not
He's a
like
drug addict.
it's
on his
not
bed,
like
though.
women are
I'm not
She
equal.
cut off
Let's
his
not-
finger.
I'm not saying she wasn't the worst one, but
But
it's like he
they're
was still
both
an
bad,
addict.
you
He still
know?
had a ton of other problems. Like,
But she cut off his
took,
finger.
She took a shit on his bed
know,
and
that
tried
bitch
to blame it.
crazy.
Hold on, tried to blame it on a chihuahua, and it was a giant human-sized shit. She tried to blame that shit
It's really funny.
on a chihuahua. You know,
cut off
but,
his
The
but,
stuff she said in front of like the entire world on TV, like
but
I don't know, she's
ultimately,
fucked up.
I mean, I think also, look, Me Too is maybe a smaller component of it,
Yeah.
but I think it's also just men do now have access to dating apps where rejection has a little bit less of a sting. Also, it takes a bit of skill, some finesse, you know, some game, some riz, whatever the fuck you want to call it, to approach somebody. Yeah, I don't like that term. I prefer game, but
Finesse.
to like approach someone in person, it's pretty hard, you know, and it is kind of a
yeah,
bit
but
of
do you
a.
want the guy who wants to approach a chick on a dating app, or the one who can approach them in person? Like, which society do you
Yeah,
want?
well,
Through social
Blue and red
circles,
pill right there,
too,
pick.
like-
Yeah.
it's hard, but it's not easy to approach women in public.
Well, apparently it's not easy for you guys on dating apps either. So,
Oh shit! Who is that, Mr. Pay to Win?